Hey, welcome to the Etobicoke Lakeshore Podcast. I'm Mike, and with me, as always, truck casting, as he loves to do, our good friend and publisher of Etobicoke Lakeshore Press, Roger Tumanieri. Hey, buddy.
Howdy, Mike.
How you doing, pal?
I'm great.
Why are you all dressed up today?
You mean I have a shirt on?
You got a new hat, too?
I got a new hat. It's still camo.
I like it.
It's new.
Well, You know what? It says John Deere on it. They get a free plug out of this one. But you know, that is an outstanding hat because nothing, of course, runs faster than a deer and nothing smells like a John. So there you go. You've got it all covered. Thanks for joining us again. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're delighted that you do. And share it with a neighbor and a friend because it's all about our neighborhood in South Etobicoke. And every episode we have a wonderful guest join us and shed some light on cool things happening in the community. Today's no exception, but I would love to make a quick plug, if I may, for the publication itself. Let's get an update on this month.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Last night I posted the July edition. So it's at the printers right now, and it'll be in the mail cycle early next week. So that's up on our website, etobicokelakeshorepress.com. You could also see posts on Facebook and Instagram as well. And this is our 2020 Home and Garden edition. It's not
cool.
A theme that I've done before. I had to pivot with some of my editorial themes after COVID hit. So I kind of thought that since everybody's sort of stuck at home, that people are spending more time and more money on their homes and spending more time in their gardens. So we featured Frank Sauvé. He's a Long Branch resident, and he owns a company called North Star Landscaping Inc.
Okay.
And it's been around for over 40 years with very humble beginnings. If I recall correctly, Frank started the business with 2 lawnmowers strapped to his 1972 Chevy Nova, and he's built his business up to, I think, over $500,000 in equipment.
Wow.
Alone. So yeah, he's got a yard just over in Lakeview, so just west of Long Branch. And Frank's a solid guy. He's got one of these salt of the earth kind of fellows. Folks in the neighborhood know who he is, and he's won some awards for his landscaping work, not the least of which was an in-ground pool installation, which we featured on the cover of the magazine. And so there's a really cool story about Frank and how he got to where he is in the July edition of the Etobicoke Lakeshore Press.
You see how it goes? It's localized, people from right here in the community. And I love when we feature somebody who's got notoriety as just being a good dude in the neighborhood.
Yeah, Frank's one of those solid guys. Yeah. So, but speaking of this edition, our guest today contributed another great article, and it was kind of cool because it was just sort of very matter of fact. And it was something that I have, I guess, lost sight of, but essentially it is, talking about the health benefits of plants. And we featured a photo of plants instead of her picture, but you'll recognize her face. She's been on the health and wellness cover of 2020 edition of the magazine, and she's been in the magazine for a number of years as a health and wellness editorial contributor. So today's guest is Dr. Melanie DeCunha. She's a naturopathic doctor and owner of One Health Services in Long Branch.
Hi,
Welcome,
Melanie.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
And thanks for joining us via this amazing technology. I've changed from the name Zoom to telepathy. So from now on, when people say, hey, how did you do that podcast? You can say, I did it via telepathy.
I love it.
Yeah? Okay. So now, just for anybody who is not familiar with what a naturopath does, give us a quick moment on what you do for people.
Sure. So we're regulated healthcare providers, and some people think of us in some ways similar to their family doctor. Now, you don't have to choose one or the other. Most of my patients do also have a family doctor. But our approach is really focused on getting to the root cause of a person's concerns. So let's say you get headaches all the time. Instead of just giving you something that makes that pain go away, I want to find out what's causing that pain in the first place. So look at you as a whole person, all aspects of your health and not just that one symptom, and figure it out. And it might be something that seems totally unrelated, like the foods that you're eating or your stress or your hormones, but we get to that root cause and treat it that way. And we generally are using things like supplements, botanicals, acupuncture, diet and lifestyle changes. And yeah, that's kind of a basic summary of what we do.
That's an excellent summary because, frankly, I think that a lot of people it's nebulous to some people because it involves a little bit about eating right and putting the right things in your body, which we all assume we're doing, and rarely are we. And just really being aware that you can do a lot of things to heal yourself without reaching into the pharmaceutical world if there's a bit of focus on the core issues.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that is one of our core principles, is using the body's ability to heal itself. So we don't often think of ourselves as, my role as the naturopath isn't necessarily to heal you. It's to give you the tools to heal yourself, and you like wake up your body's ability to kind of get it back on that path.
I was going to ask Melanie, throughout COVID-19, people are stuck at home. They've been at home for many months. Some people are parents and they've been stuck at home with their kids for longer than they're used to. Can you offer any tips to folks, families in particular, on how to stay healthy, both physically and mentally too, under quarantine?
Yeah, so definitely this has been a challenging time for, I think, everyone in some way or another. I have a pretty large focus on mental health in my practice. So even if someone comes in for, insomnia or food sensitivities, we always address that mental, emotional aspect because, let's be honest, everyone has some degree of stress or, mental, emotional difficulties, right? We're human.
Sure.
You encounter struggles that you need help with. The thing is that a lot of people don't usually acknowledge that and just think, that's kind of how life is supposed to go. But I think particularly being in quarantine and some people living alone and being quite isolated has brought to light a lot of challenges for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Mixing in then, a lot of people being laid off, financial insecurity, all of these things, just concern over health and, getting the virus has, been really, really challenging for people. And I think one of the, adding on to a challenge would be a lack of routine. And I know that for me and for a lot of people has been challenging. I am definitely a creature of routine. And when my routine is thrown off, it's very difficult to kind of get back onto that.
For sure.
And I think in terms of diet, question, have you guys been eating a lot more bread and things that you maybe don't normally eat a lot of?
Yeah.
Yeah. And at different times. You're right about the routine.
No, I'm a complete idiot now about it. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, it's so challenging, I think, when you're at home all day, every day, to have the same kind of eating routine. And I ate several of my meals at the office, so it was pre-planned, right? I would go in, have certain meals throughout the day. And now when you're just at home all day, every day, you tend to grab things more. Your exercise routine is thrown off. Everything is kind of thrown off. So I think that, first of all, people need to have a lot of grace with themselves, that this is something that none of us have ever dealt with before. So it's okay that your routine is off. It's okay that you're not sleeping well and eating well and exercising well. Don't be more hard on yourself and feel guilt over that, because it's just going to make the situation a lot worse.
I think on that note, I think a lot of people were like, okay, well, now if I'm here, I'm going to exercise more. I'm going to get myself into shape. And the reality is that your metabolism changes when you're not moving around all day, that you're not making your way through transit or whatever activity it is in the day. And we were basically at a time when the weather was not great for us here locally. And so people were literally just kind of stuck at home. And no matter how much you exercise or try to eat right, I don't even know if that works.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you don't even probably factor in all of those little things like walking to your car, walking to the bus stop, and how much that adds up. Because I know I track my steps through, my watch, and many people, have devices that track it. And it was scary how few steps I was getting in the beginning.
Yeah.
Even, trying to go for walks a little more often didn't come close to just what an average day would be. And that that comes back to the routine. Most people are moving from their beds to, their makeshift office. And especially those first few weeks where people didn't feel comfortable leaving their house at all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now people are more comfortable to go pick up food, go to the grocery store or whatnot. I mean, remember those first couple weeks, like going to the grocery store was like a 3-hour ordeal, right? To like suit up and wait in line and, get everything that you needed for, potentially a month. So things have definitely shifted now. I think it's been a lot better with the weather being so nice outside, and now the restrictions. I mean, I don't know, what are we at? Week 10, 11, 12? No,
I don't know. I know this.
Yeah.
I don't think I even wear shoes anymore.
Yeah, right. So things have come a long way. We're still in the thick of it, but now I think people are a lot more comfortable going out, meeting with their little social bubble. I mean, gyms aren't still open. Who knows how long that will be? A lot of things still aren't back to normal, but I think people are starting to find a little bit more routine than what they had, at least in the first few weeks.
Melanie, can I ask you a sidebar question here?
Mm-hmm.
How many steps should I be walking a day?
Oh boy. I mean, for some reason, the number 10,000 is kind of that standard that, I don't know even who came up with that number 10,000, but that's the one that seems to be inherent.
Okay.
The guy that owns a shoe company came up with that.
Yeah, the Nike folks came up with that one. Okay,
you know, pair of shoes every month.
I don't want to hold you to it. I just wondered because 10,000 was a number I had heard as well, and it's real achievable, by the way, if you get outside and do that. So now,
but on a daily basis, I rarely hit it.
Really? Wow.
On an average day, but that doesn't factor in if I'm doing yoga or another form of exercise.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to just guess that I'm going to try this over the weekend. That's why I was asking. And I'm going to guess that I get to 3,000 a day, but I will post it and we can see. But I'm
there you go.
Now I'm into it. Okay. So now you've got a clinic and COVID. Let's talk about what happens to you briefly when that happens. Did you have to shut down? Did you have to start consulting from home?
Yeah. So at our clinic, we have several different healthcare providers. And so the directive from the Chief Medical Officer of Health was that so the directive went to all regulated healthcare providers in all of Ontario, which includes, family doctors and dentists, everyone. So the directive was basically to halt anything that was not necessary, so not urgent, and to pretty much do everything virtually unless it would, be detrimental to someone's health if they weren't seen in person. So as most family doctors shut down or we're just doing, virtual. We basically did the same thing. So our clinic was shut down for all in-person visits. And some of our services, such as mine, such as our psychotherapy, were able to continue virtually. And the rest of the services, any of our manual practitioners like massage and chiropractic had to just stop altogether.
Okay. And now what's the plan moving forward?
So now our directive fell kind of in between phase 1 and 2. So we can resume in-person visits. However, there are a lot of caveats around that. So there's a lot of restrictions around it. It's not just back to normal. There's a lot of screening that has to go in. It still is encouraged to do virtual visits where possible, to still limit in-person visits where possible. So we have opened partially. So we're open about part-time now for in-person visits. For massage and chiropractic, and for myself, if I need to do a physical exam on someone or acupuncture, something that requires an in-person visit. Otherwise, we are still continuing mostly virtually.
Right. Now, this is tough, as you point out, for people, and I wonder if maybe we can, the mental strain, the sitting around, it's like the perfect storm for everybody to be feeling like, but summer's here. And it's a bit of an opportunity. We're encouraged to get outdoors in many ways. Maybe we can impart like a little bit of coping and rejuvenation advice to listeners.
Yeah, I remember back, a month ago at Mother's Day, the weather was so beautiful and being able to go swimming. So we have been pretty fortunate over the past, 5 weeks or so that people are able to get out more. Obviously, we know that you get more vitamin D from the sun, which is going to help to elevate your mood. But just being in nature in general is really helpful and healing for your mood. And now that the bubble, you're allowed to gather in these little bubbles, being able to see people and, see your close family members or friends, whoever you choose to be in your bubble, is going to be hugely beneficial for your mood. So I would say, get outside more, plan to safely see people where possible. And I think that'll be really helpful for mood.
Do you think it'd be okay for Roger to leave the truck?
I know.
This is my bubble.
Yeah, you've got tons of nature up there, though, don't you?
Yes, yeah, we're pretty lucky. I was just thinking about bubbles, though. Are people competing to be in people's bubbles? Like, how is this going to play out?
I'm not your bubble.
How many people are you allowed in a bubble?
I think it's 10 now.
10, right?
I think it's 10, but apparently you're not supposed to cross over bubbles. So
I don't know. High school all over again for some people.
I know. Yeah. I mean, so far we've just visited with like our parents and stuff. Yeah. So
I think what they're trying to do, I mean, the general consensus is if we can confuse everybody with overlapping bubbles for just a couple weeks, we're going to be ahead of the game a little more. You know what I mean? So hopefully everybody just stays in their bubbles that they've already kind of been in for the last 2 weeks, and that should reduce things again. But I think you're right. Getting outside does feel better. And I think the mental health aspect of things, when that rebuilds in people and they're starting to feel a little bit more rejuvenated and back engaged with the people that they love, a lot of maladies will disappear with that as well, and people's health will come back a little bit. Yeah, that feels like...
I think so. Yeah. I think so too, but I also think that it might go a little bit beyond just, being stuck inside, because as I said, I do focus a lot on mental health, and I am seeing a trend where people's mental health is declining significantly, and people's anxiety and depression are worsening. And I don't think people should just say, oh, it's fine. Once things go back to normal, I'll be fine. I think it is important to acknowledge your struggle and to get help for it. And I think it's great that a lot of corporations and businesses are recognizing this and putting a big focus on that for their employees. And so a lot of companies are increasing their budget for mental health resources. I know a lot of companies have basically just given their employees, here, even if your benefits covered this much, we're going to give you, $2,000 more to go towards, counseling or what it is that's needed. Because, I'm always a huge advocate of counseling in general. And I always tell people, you go for, or you should go for a yearly physical and a checkup for your physical health. Why do you have to wait for something to be so wrong to talk about your mental health? Right. So I'm a big advocate of counseling, as it is, but especially now, I do think it is really important that people reach out for help and don't just downplay what it is that they're experiencing.
No, there's no need to isolate with those feelings. Yeah, to share them. I would imagine there's coping mechanisms that person to person can be applied and make life better for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Melanie, if people wanted to reach out and find out more about your services, or just find out more overall about what you think they might need in the way of your services, where could they reach you?
You can find us on a few different platforms. So of course, you can go to our website at onehealthservices.ca. And there you'll find a list of all of our services. And as well, there will be a link to book directly online, which I think a lot of people find pretty convenient. You can also find us on Facebook at either One Health Services Etobicoke or at Dr. Melanie DeCunha ND. And same thing on Instagram. You can find us at One Health Services, and me personally at Dr. Melanie DeCunha.
Well, thanks so much for joining us today, and I wish you a wonderful summer. And as our bubbles increase, I hope we see you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
It was great to have you on. Thanks so much, Melanie.
Well, there's a likable doctor in the neighborhood, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
It's so great to hear that the advice is, look, you go for a yearly checkup on your physical, go for a yearly checkup on your mental. Make sure that you're coping right, that you're dealing with all this stuff. That was smart.
That's my big takeaway out of this podcast. It was a perspective I never considered.
Yeah, me too. See, you and I are always learning, right?
Oh, yeah. No, this show has been great.
We never learn anything from each other, but this show teaches us so much.
That's why we always have to have a guest on here.
Well, thank you so much again to Dr. Melanie DeCunha for joining us. And thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and tell a friend. And, of course, visit EtobicokeLakeshorePress.com for this month's edition of the Etobicoke Lakeshore Press. This is the Etobicoke Lakeshore podcast. You ever mix the two up? Just call it ELPod like us. Roger, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. Have a good day.